What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Web Buzz Podcast. Coming to you guys a day late on the live version. Mr. Roger Valdez just couldn't get himself off the West Coast. I was hoping he'd stay here a little longer, but glad to see you made it back.
I did, man. It took me a little bit, but you know what? There's some things happening out there with the airlines, but whatever that is, basically it was the fog, I think, or something like that. But yeah, I would rather be landed and just kind of hold it than risk it. So I can respect that. We were fine. We're good.
Got it. Well, it was nice to have you out here this past weekend. I know you were out here celebrating the big bad 8 years of marriage. You know the joke. You got to make it to 10. I think it is something like that. So you still got 2 more years to.
I got 2 more years, man.
Gotta try. But anyway, it is good to see that you're back. I know you got back pretty late last night. I was sitting there on the couch when you said, "Hey, I'm home. I'm back. I'm sitting down. I'm actually calling it a night. It's been a long day." I looked at Deanna and I said, "He just now got there." She was like, "Ooh."
Oh yeah, all day affair, man.
So anyway, with that being said, actually, before I hand it over to you here for a second, folks, if you didn't know, Roger's got his first guest public speaking event coming up in 2 days, right?
2 days, Saturday. Yeah, Saturday morning. Yeah.
2 days. He's going to be speaking for a phenomenal group of real estate investors over in the Baltimore, DC metro area. We've really changed the way Roger operates in the last year and a half or so. We've got him onto podcasts, we've got him onto trainings, and now we had him working at a workshop teaching, and now we got groups reaching out saying, "Hey, come speak to us."
Hey man, I gotta hand it to you. I gotta tell you, thank you, man. that was not my comfort zone. And sometimes, just like anything else, right? We have to step out of our comfort zone to grow. And I think that's what's happening here. So I appreciate it. But yeah, stoked, man. Super excited. Been working on my prezo, and I think I'm gonna bring it. It's like so it should be pretty good. So whoever's gonna be there or on the Zoom call as part of that group, they're gonna get some good value from that presentation for sure.
Awesome. So what are we going to discuss today, or what do you got for everybody before we kick it off?
Yeah, man. So we're gonna flip it a little bit. Last couple episodes, if you guys have been following, we've been talking a lot SEO, right? Very, very strategic SEO concepts, SEO strategies, and what we wanted to do is kind of bring it kind of like all together, right? Taking a couple steps back because there's a lot of things, and I think this is where you, Shawn, and myself kind of come together as a team, and we divide and conquer, right? So we say it like, hey, I talk to the robots, we joke about that, and you talk to the humans. Well, when you combine that, you got to understand that. And what we're going to do today is really take a step back and kind of look at it from up top and what that all looks like. And that's when you start getting that human factor into this whole play, right? So we're going to try to step away a little bit. Still, you can't get 100% away from the technical pieces because it is just digital marketing. So you got to keep the technology in there, right? But what we're going to try to do is humanize it a little bit and try to kind of look at it from a higher perspective and see if it starts kind of making a little more sense of how you can use that, why it's so important, and the different pieces involved. So today, our topic title, since we are speaking to real estate investors, our main audience here, is how to drive more motivated sellers through your omnipresence. Okay, so we're going to kind of break that down, what that all means, and kind of hit every piece so that you can kind of see and essentially audit your online presence and see where what you have and what you're missing, and maybe take some takeaways, some tips, some tricks that you can take from today's episode and implement, right?
Absolutely. And before we do that, before we go too deep into it, I do want to remind everybody there is a free webinar coming up later tonight. It's not too late to get registered. I think the last time I looked, there's like 85 or 90 people registered already for this. We're going to be kicking off. You can go to reitoolbox.com/webinar to sign up for it for free. But we're going to be talking about tonight on that webinar, kind of looking ahead into 2022 and your digital marketing plan, which is only going to take what I'm talking about and Roger's talking about here today on the episode and kind of go a little deeper into it. We're going to really pull back the onion later tonight on this topic, and what does that mean as you start to look into 2022, and really help you craft your 2022 marketing strategy and plan out of that webinar. We are running it tonight, and I think I'm going to plan on doing it probably 2 other times in the month of December. So be on the lookout. If tonight doesn't work for you, be on the lookout for those 2 different times coming up in the month of December, or heck, just register so that you'll get one of the replays that we do of this, so that you can at least sit down and watch. You won't be able to partake online live, but you'll be able to kind of get that replay piece. So anything you want to say on this topic of omnipresence before we kind of go too deep into it?
Yeah, just I'm going to keep it very general on my comment on the importance of it, right? Because what we tend to see, and what a lot of you guys probably experience and apply, is one piece of the omnipresence. And I want you to kind of really pay attention as Shawn and I kind of break this down, because you might be like, hey, I got a good online presence. And when you really look at the omnipresence, right, you only have one piece. And you're missing out on other opportunities. And I call them opportunities because that's what they are. When you put it all together and you have the true omnipresence and you have all this happening in sync, you're building many opportunities. Essentially, you're in the middle of a lake in a boat trying to fish. You have a lot of lines in the water instead of just one line, right? So I'll leave it at that, because we are kind of, like Shawn said, peel the onion back a little bit and go piece by piece, so you guys can kind of check it out from there.
Awesome. So to kind of get this going here, I want to start by really talking about what Omnipresence does for us, right? As a digital marketing focus in our business, what is this whole concept of omnipresence? Well, if you actually look up the word, we're basically saying be everywhere at all times, right? Be everywhere at all times. Did you have something? I saw you unmute.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was actually, when you say that, it makes me laugh, because I like to, when we're all like sales calls or we're talking to someone new, I always like to say, we all use different analogies or just ways to explain it. I'm like, I'm either going to be running what is it, a political campaign for you. So I'm going to make you the most popular person in this town, like the mayor, your thing. Or the other example I like to say, I'm going to go to every laundromat and put a flyer about your business, right? So everybody knows you're there. If your ideal client, we find out through analysis that your ideal client is at a laundromat or a coffee shop, whatever that means. So anyway.
Absolutely. But I mean, you nail the point right there. That is what omnipresence really means, is that anywhere and everywhere your avatar, your ideal customer, is looking or is hanging out, they see you. There's a saying out there that business isn't always about being the best. It's just about being the best known. Right? You don't have to be the absolute best. You don't have to have all the strategies, know all the answers, be perfect. You just have to be the most known. And if you're the most known, you're going to gain a lot of business. Well, how do we become the most known? Thank you, digital world. You made it really, really easy for us to be all places at all times. Because if I go offline, let's get digital out of the picture for a second. Let's rewind time. Go back to the 90s. Go back to the early 2000s, when the internet was just really kind of trying to figure out its purpose in things. Business, the way business marketed and grew, to Roger's point, you had to go put a flyer in every single laundromat, which means you had to take the time to drive there and put it up and put it out, or you had to pay somebody to go do that. You had to be signs over here. You had to have signs over there. You had to put this type of stuff out over here. You had to put that over there. Well, that consumed a lot of time. The digital world has allowed us to speed that up. It's allowed us to go a lot faster. So this concept of omnipresence should actually be easier. But what Roger and I see on a consistent basis, and I loved how you put that at the start of this when you kicked us off, is a lot of people, they are kind of hitting maybe 2 or 3 of the heads, right, of this big monster. They're missing one of the heads. They're leaving one off to the side, or maybe they just don't know what it is. So anything on that before we kind of break this? Because I want to break down the 3 kind of core pillars that really make up this accelerated growth process of omnipresence.
No, I think that's a good segue into kind of breaking it. I'll probably jump in here as we kind of break each one down, because there's a lot to each one. I think a lot of different steps. So we'll just kind of continue here and keep it rolling.
Yeah, and there is a lot, and we're going to try to keep this to, our typical 35, 45 minute episode here and not go for like 3 hours, which is why you want to join the webinar later tonight.
Right.
If this stirs some stuff, because tonight, I promise you, we're going to at least go for about 90 minutes on this topic and really start to break this thing apart even deeper and help you build the plan around it. So the first prong of all of this kind of concept really comes around your leads. The purpose of Omnipresence is to drive leads. I'm going to say that again. The purpose of being omnipresent is to drive leads, to drive interest, to drive requests. As a real estate professional, my omnipresence means motivated sellers, people that I serve, notice me, and I go back to the customer journey. They become aware of me, and they start to engage with me. That is the whole purpose of Omnipresence on the lead focus. It's to get their attention and bring them in. Now, there's 3 kind of like core areas from a digital footprint that I personally think, if you're focusing on all 3 of these, you kind of hit the 3-headed monster right here, you're going to have a really, really solid omnipresence. And the first one, Roger talks about this a lot, and that is the organic side of things. So why don't you take that here for a quick second and just kind of break down on the organic side, like what are the key components? Obviously, we already know SEO is one of them, but why is the organic side so powerful from this omnipresence mentality?
Yeah, no, that's actually great point on that part, because I mean, I actually have an entire list of stuff that you can actually, what we call the organic, right? What's the piece of that? But just to keep it super simple, a lot of the organic stuff is going to be pretty, let's call it free stuff that you can actually apply yourself without having to go invest a lot of money or even time in some cases, but that are out there. But not only that, that's just kind of like what you can actually get. But the organic as well is putting yourself so out there that is the most commonly used platforms, right? The most commonly used places. In other words, if we take it offline, just go, it's like, what is the most popular coffee shop? And if I know my avatar is at the coffee shop, right, my ideal client, that's where I'm going to market to as many of those coffee shops as possible. So the organic portion, I mean, there's requirements to that. You can't just say, all right, I want organic traffic. You need tools for that. One of them being your website becomes a very, very important tool that you need. And not only that, because once again, taking it offline and calling it, hey, if the coffee shop is, and I create a little tiny, banner, right? Little tiny banner nobody can see. And there's big banners with a bunch of colors and a lot of cool font. They're going to outdo me easy, right? So when you create your website, there's a lot of pieces to that as well to really, we call it optimize, right? Make it as valuable to the ideal client as possible, so they look at it. And to Shawn's point, that the customer journey, right? Make them aware. So they're there, right? They're in that place. But now, how are you going to make them aware that you're there, right? So you better have a really good, pretty much kind of something that's eye-catching, but not only that, that it has content on there and media, meaning like video, images, things like that, that will catch their attention and hold their attention to go a little deeper and really understand before they decide to really engage, right? And ultimately subscribe.
Absolutely. When I think organic, what I'm thinking, I mean, we're doing it right now. This is an organic prong of our digital omnipresence element. Every week we run a podcast. We do it live. It's a Facebook Live. It's a YouTube Live. It's out there on different platforms live in the moment. But then it's also repurposed and put out on audio podcast players. Afterwards, it's syndicated back to YouTube as a post thing. It goes over to our website as a blog style structure that's out there, that's rankable. And all of these components are organically found week over week over week over week. That is a big piece, like omnipresent in multiple facets: video, audio, written, post, multiple platforms, right? All could be found from an organic standpoint. Now, when we look at the second head of this piece from driving leads, and really that's the whole point of this podcast, is to drive awareness, engagement, and ultimately get interested individuals to reach out to Top Results Consulting and REI Toolbox who want our help in the real estate space. Simply put, right? We deliver a lot of value that interests people, that says, hey, I understand what you guys are doing. Makes sense. I want you to do it for me because I don't have the time to do it. Cool. That's who we serve. Now, the second head to all of this, paid. Paid is the second channel of 3 primary channels that I believe, if you're focused on it, you're going to start to build a really strong omnipresence capability. And take that for a second, Roger, and kind of break down, like, where does paid traffic? Obviously, paid is things like Google pay-per-click,
Right.
Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, maybe TikTok ads pretty soon. Actually got hit up by somebody today wanting to know if we wanted to run TikTok ads. I'm like, I don't think my audience is on TikTok right now, but we'll find out soon.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But paid traffic, where does it have its place in this whole mix? Why is that? Let's say it's just a 1-2 punch, organic and paid. Why is that a really strong 1-2 punch?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. We get that all the time, right? Because there's a lot of people that come to us and they want leads at the end of the day, and they want them fast. They want them yesterday, right? So I always try to, like, even though I'm very heavily on the SEO side, the organic side, and that's kind of like what I'm known more for. They're a smart marketer, and I always say this, and I'm 100% honest. A smart marketer will tell you that there is a time and a place for both. Okay. And the reason we say that is because there are certain requirements. Once again, I always go, there's certain requirements for each one, and each one plays on each other as well. Right. So we'll just kind of break that down just a little bit. So on the paid side, in reality, all you really need is what's called, and they have many names, but we'll use the landing page, right? The squeeze page, whatever you've heard, it's the same thing, but it's essentially one page.
Use squeeze page.
Yeah, it's essentially one page with, a marketing pitch, and you basically buy ads or traffic. You buy paid traffic to this particular page, and it's paid, so it's automatic. It automatically happens. All right, so that is kind of the paid side of things. So it's quick, very quick. But as soon as you stop paying, then that traffic stops. Now that happens. Keyword there, it happens instantly, right? It happens instantly as long as you're paying. On the other side, the organic side, now it's more like a really, really heavy flywheel that sometimes can get a little annoying for people because it takes a while, right? But it's you're building essentially a brand, right? Building a brand around your keywords, your services, everything about your business. You're building an asset, I call it. And with that takes time to really build the reputation on Google with your clients and everything. And it takes time, but it's slow to really kind of gain. Once again, keyword here is a little slower, right? Take some time. But once you get going, and that, it depends on your market. It depends on a lot of things, right? Your budget and everything. But you're looking between 3, 6 to 12 months, right? Those are the kind of, depending on how much you're kind of investing in this organic side. But those are kind of the requirements and obviously the right strategies to get you there. But that one, once the flywheel gets moving, the real heavy flywheel, it kind of runs on its own. And essentially, those leads that are coming in are now free. You're not paying for those leads. You basically did the required work to get to page 1, position 1, 2, or 3, right? I always call those the golden positions. And that's where most of the traffic for those keywords are at. So you start getting that organic traffic, essentially getting those organic leads. So two things. And those 2 things, if you did have the budget for both, right? Maybe when you're starting your organic kind of campaigns, SEO campaigns, you put some ads. You have a landing page within your website where you're driving some ads to kind of get the leads going to keep your business moving with some leads there. But you continue to work on your SEO. Now, one last thing I'll leave you guys with: when you have a strong brand recognition, brand presence, your ads tend to rank a little higher as well. Do not leave that out. A lot of people say, hey, I'm just going to go with the landing page, call it a day. I don't want any brand. I'm just going to put a bunch of money into it. When they don't realize that someone that's building a brand with their organic presence will actually outrank their ads and perform a lot better. And their spend in some cases actually goes down.
I love when I say that to people and they're like, what? I had no idea. And you're 100% right. Actually, we had a client when they first got started that I think their ads were showing up on like page 3 the first day or two. And it's just because the SEO work hadn't caught itself up yet either. And through time we start to move that needle up there. So organic and paid, very simple. The other way that I'm gonna throw this on the paid side, and then we're gonna switch to what I think is the most overlooked and one of the most powerful ones of it. If paid and organic are going really well, the third one becomes like the free place to get leads out of it. But I like to say this about paid. Paid is kind of like the nitrous for the race car. We're going to go race car since you like to use the racetrack analogy. We won't keep it dating anymore today.
I have a feeling later you'll bring it back.
I might have to. But paid is like the nitrous to the race car, right? Can a car get from 0 to 150 miles an hour? Absolutely. Takes a little time to wind some of those cars up. Every car can eventually get there if it has enough track and distance, right? But if I've got a shorter distance, shorter runway, and I got to get to that same speed, I hit the nitrous button, I can kind of like kickstart the whole thing. I can get a little boost in this. Paid traffic is like the nitrous to your organic search results. It's the nitrous to your organic marketing. It's one of those things you can turn it on, turn it off. I love how Roger always puts it. It's great when it's on, but as soon as you turn it off, that's it. It's over. It's dead, right? Whereas organic, we build that up. Our omnipresence from an organic standpoint can become really strong for years to come because it's always going to be out there, right? Now, the third monster head here, and the one that everybody for some reason overlooks, especially in the real estate side, is your database. Your database. You're out there buying traffic, whether you're buying ads to get the traffic or you're buying lists and skip tracing those lists and bringing that stuff. You're buying eyeballs. And for some reason, we attack that list. We're super motivated. We're excited about it. We just got this new skipped list in and we plug it into our system and boom, we're going to go after this and we're going to drop some mail letters to them. We're going to drop some stuff to them. We're going to try to draw them to our organic stuff that we've got out there. And then it like dies out. Well, they didn't answer me this week or next week or the week after. And then I forget about it. And what do? Oh, it's just bad data. And I go buy more and I go get all this other stuff. Meanwhile, you got a bunch of people sitting in your database who just because they didn't answer you today or this week or next week doesn't mean they're not an opportunity. And I was actually working with one of our clients yesterday on this. We're launching something in January. We got a couple people playing through some beta testing and doing some beta stuff on a software that Roger and I are bringing to the market first part of the year. And one of the tasks that I assigned them last week was download your current database, scrub it clean, get rid of all the junk that was in there, bring in new data, and we're going to attack that new database now that you've cleaned up. We're going to attack it again. And a couple of our clients, overachievers, eager, they jumped the gun and they started hitting them up with another campaign going after it. Well, what happened? They got flooded with phone calls. They got flooded with stuff. Why? Because they suddenly got back in front of an eyeball that was in their database that they, in their mind, for some reason assumed was dead. And that person jumped over to the website, looked at some stuff, jumped over here on the social platforms, noticed some stuff there, and realized, oh, wait a minute. I don't know why I overlooked this person before, but they actually can help me. And it's been 3 or 4 months since the last time I heard from them. Absolutely. I do need your help. Let me call you. And they're currently working and writing a couple offers right now, as we speak, on people who a week ago, they would have told me, nah, that database is dead, that there's nothing there. So your database is a phenomenal place to be super omnipresent with until, and I told our clients this, you'll get a kick out of this one, until they've unsubscribed, taken their data away from me, like somehow blocked me from being able to call, text, email, whatever the case, till they've done that, or they've become a client of mine. In my opinion, they're an opportunity. So you got one or two choices. Work with me or tell me to go away and unsubscribe and tell me to stop, and we'll stop, right? That is the level of it. Now, I want to go a little deeper on that, but I want to give you a chance to add to that first.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was going to add is I want everybody to kind of look at yourself in a way in your inbox, right? Because I do this all the time where I've at some point, sometimes I don't even remember, right, that I opted into something and I keep getting these emails, but I'm reluctant to unsubscribe because I feel like one day I'm going to need, I just kind of like hide it or, just read and just kind of, and they keep coming. They keep coming. And it just, but that one day always comes where I need their help and they're in front of me, right? Because they keep sending me stuff all the time. So that's one of the things with this omnipresent mentality. I mean, that's what it is. It's like nobody needs a plumber right now. But when you need them, if you're the brand that's recognized, you're going to get the phone call. That's omnipresence, right? That's what it's all about.
You just nailed it, right? Email, very overlooked. I don't know why. Very overlooked aspect. To Roger's point, I don't care if they never open the email and read it. The fact that it's in their inbox on a very frequent basis and they have to click it and hit delete. Click it and hit delete. They're seeing our name. They're seeing the brand, right? And to Roger's point, that day when they need what you have and they're pissed and they're frustrated and they go to their inbox to clean it out and they see you, they're going to stop for a second. And they might not hit delete that day. They might open it up. They might read. They might realize, let me call them or let me reply back, right? And it's because you've been present the whole time. Top of mind. So I say it all the time. Go ahead, delete my emails. Now, I'm going to talk here in a second about conversions, and there's a shift in where things are going, but it doesn't mean email is completely dead. And I think we need to do a complete episode just on email marketing in the digital world right now. But don't sleep on email, folks. Real estate, for sure, don't sleep on email, especially if you've got somebody's professional email, not their personal junk one, but if you've got somebody's professional, their work email, somehow you got a hold of that one, you best believe they're looking at that thing every day for work. They're in it. Get something in that inbox. And to Roger's point, to what I just said, even if they're just hitting delete, at some point, it will convert for you. Or the other side that I always kind of push on, they might not need you, but they're going to know somebody that does. And that's what's going to come to mind. That email that Roger's been reluctant to hit delete on, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know what? I see this brand in my email box all the time. I don't need them, but it sounds like they'd be a good fit for what you're talking about. And that's how we get some referral side as well. Anything else that you want to add on that before I shift us?
No, I think we nailed that one down pretty good. I think we're good.
So with that, we're going to kind of shift over to the second kind of major prong of this whole thing, and that is conversions. The other element of our omnipresence is, or the other reason we want to put this focus is the conversion side of it, right? Our job, the omnipresent marketing's job is to generate leads and convert into opportunities. Generate leads and convert. If we're actually looking at the customer journey, it's the omnipresence job to awareness, get them to engage, and eventually subscribe. That subscribe is fill out a form, call, request something, text, whatever it is, right? Show up at your door. Whatever it is that conversion piece that says, we'll go back dating here. Told you were right. It was going to have to come out. It's let's go to dinner. Let's actually have a formal date, not just small talk behind, some dating app kind of thing. So when we look at the conversion side, there's really three key pieces of it. Website being the very first one. I personally believe your website should be your central hub. It is the central hub of everything. All of your marketing efforts should be trying to drive people back. Look at what I just did at the start of this show. We've got a webinar coming up tonight. And where am I sending you to register for the webinar? I'm not just saying send me a message and I'll send you the Zoom link. I'm telling you what. Go to reitoolbox.com/webinar if you want to jump on the webinar tonight and go really deep on this and get your 2022 marketing plan mapped out. P.S. I got a bunch of cool resources for you and tools, right? Ethical bribe to get you to go and do this so that you can be on the training tonight or on one of the two coming up in December. The website should be your central hub. So, Roger, I know you can go on forever on this, but anything you want to add to that piece right there? Why is the website so key in the conversion side of this?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It's basically, it is the central hub, right? So why the website's so important? All the tools that are going to try to convert that particular ideal client should be on that, on that site. And when you look at it, it's like, well, I don't get it. Well, each page is almost like an octopus's arm, right? Because it's like an arm that's reaching out, and you can utilize each arm in many verticals of marketing, right? So depending on what you're doing, you can create an arm for that. So yeah, that's why it becomes kind of that central hub where most of that stuff goes and where you should be sending most of your traffic.
Next to that is your reputation. And when we say reputation, I think it was last week, we did this whole episode on the change of GMB to GBP. Google My Business, changing over to Google Business Profile now. But regardless of the change, there's one core element of this that really matters from an Omnipresent standpoint, and that is the reputation, aka reviews. Your online reputation, the online reviews, builds your omnipresence. When more and more people are raving about you and saying good things about you and leaving positive reviews out there for you, that in itself can help build this omnipresence, because they're not necessarily going to find you, but they might stumble on a review site where there's this review piece going on. And it doesn't even have to be a review site. Two of our clients were on a podcast yesterday. They sent me the episode to listen to because they were all excited about it. And as I was listening to it, midway through, somebody gave them like major kudos about their real estate website. They're like, this is probably the best real estate website I've ever seen out there. And Jordan, our one client up there with Building Appalachia, he was like, I got to cut you off right there and just say, like, massive shout out to Top Results Consulting and REI Toolbox and Shawn and Roger. They know exactly what the heck they're doing in this space. They are our team, and there's a reason why we are doing what we're doing from our website. That reputation, right? That is an audience that listens to that podcast that you and I do not know. But whoever listens to that episode and hears that, that's brand reputation now in their ears, in their eyes, from this totally different episode that has nothing to do with us, right? That's creating a bigger sphere of this omnipresence. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the reputation portion of things, I think gets left out as well. So that there's many portions of this omnipresence that companies are missing out on in regards to kind of like just reputation alone can close a deal. Meaning, if you don't have a strong organic presence, like, a lot of the stuff that we talk about, it's like all these city pages and ranking number one, and you're not there yet, guess what? If you have good reputation, right, with not only your network of people or your community, but on your website, you actually have reviews on there and you're showcasing them on the homepage, and you have a conversation with somebody offline. But then they go online, and because you focused, at least as a beginner even, you focused on kind of building the brand so your website at least pops up, or you have a website and you have good reviews, people will make decisions off of that. And I think you mentioned it right now, Shawn. We had that episode last week in regards to GMB and now GBP, right? Which is the Google Business Profile. That becomes very important. And that is an organic free profile that you can create and people can leave reviews. It's a review site, right? But it's a Google review site. And a lot of your clients out there are looking at those to make decisions. So that's why when we look at the reputation, that's what we're talking about, is what are people saying about you out there? Not only, on these review sites, but when people are talking about you on podcasts, on blog posts, on audio, whatever, right? Anything, are they saying positive things? And all that kind of trickles into a snowball effect to really build that brand recognition, brand trust, and awareness, right? And hopefully new leads for you.
I mean, let's just get real for a real quick second here. As real estate professionals, you're dealing with people. Now, most of our clients are real estate investors, not agents, real estate investors. Stop for a second and realize you are dealing with a incredibly sensitive situation. When you're dealing with somebody that's facing foreclosure, there's very few people that they actually want to discuss the fact that they're in foreclosure with, right? That's not something that they're just running around at the water bucket at the office having small talk around. Oh yeah, I'm getting foreclosed on. Right? They're not just sharing that. Bankruptcy. Nobody's running around going, I'm going bankrupt. Dealing with my bankruptcy right now, right? These are very sensitive topics. So I bring that up because if you don't have any focus or you don't really care about your reputation online and what people are actually saying, or you have none out there, how is it that that person's supposed to have any trust at all for you, right? How are they going to build any trust? And that's where I really think the reputation side of this is kind of like the icing on the cake. You could be super present. You could have a strong omnipresence from your organic side, your paid ad side. You could be really omnipresent with your database. You're out there like crazy, but you have nobody saying anything positive about you other than you. It's going to be really hard for somebody to convert over. I was literally on a call yesterday with a potential prospect of ours, a client, who basically said to me, before the call, he was planning on talking to us and about 3 other people in this space. But because of the people that I referenced, that you and I, Roger, know, are aligned with, have done stuff with, where we kind of stand in this industry of real estate, and because of what others that he knows have said about us, he pretty much at that point was like, there's no point in me going and talk to anybody else. It all makes sense now why they're saying you and what you're saying resonates now. And it all came down, right? That was like that nail in the coffin. Boom. Your reputation. I'm good. I'm good. I'm bought in, right? Go ahead. I saw you look like you were about to say something there.
Yeah, no. It's like, I just want to kind of build on that because we're talking about it, and it could be just words, us kind of feeling very strongly about it, but that's not it. It's like it goes beyond that. It goes, I'm going to go a little nerdy and technical on you guys real quick, but there's an entire algorithm built into Google that's called EAT, right? And we talk about this as well. It's like, why would they build that into it? And if you guys don't know, EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trust. So what it's looking for an online presence that has expertise, authority, and trust. So that's, I mean, when you build this omnipresence that we're talking about, that helps pretty much strengthen up that portion of the algorithm for your brand, so you can appear in more places, right? Be out there, what we're talking about, and have your ideal avatar find you, or ideal client find you, and be able to kind of build that trust and that relationship with you to then essentially subscribe or do business with you.
Now, the final piece of this is automation. And I'm going to stop here for a second, and we're going to kind of segue into a little bit of tonight's topic on the webinar. And when I say automation, what I'm talking about from this standpoint, giving your prospects, your potential customers, every possible way that they can communicate with you for their style. If you're omnipresent in your communication, and you've got a lot of automation built in around this so that you don't have to manage and do it, meaning having somebody be able to get on a website and chat with you through a chat function, or submit a form and be able to get information back because of that form. Tonight, the webinar, the full thing's automated. If you go to reitoolbox.com/webinar and you sign up for it, there's a workbook, there's a link for this thing. There's no manual process behind that, right? It's going to hit you via your text message. It's going to hit you via your email. I'm going to send you some reminders that are already built in and ready to go. The whole thing's automated, right? To communicate, because I know you're busy and you got a lot of things going on. You're going to need reminders. I don't have the time to sit down and do that. Why would I? Why would I want to do that? Right? But I automate it because I want to be able to communicate and help you show up on time. Your customers are the same thing. They want to be able to communicate when they need it. I was literally talking to somebody right before the podcast today, another prospect that we're looking at bringing on to help out. And I said, think about it. He's an active duty military guy, Army warrant officer. I said, think about it. You're active on base all day long. You don't have time at 1:00 in the afternoon to stop and answer the phone or leave base and go and check out the house. He's like, no, not at all. Your seller, who's desperately getting pounded by the bank and is desperately looking for the way out of their foreclosure issue, doesn't care that it's 1:00 in the afternoon and you're in the Army. They need help right now. right? They're in stress. They're looking. They found you. They reached out. If they can't find a way to communicate with you and you be able to communicate back in that moment, where are they going? Going to your competition. They're going to find the next person, right? All the stuff in the world doesn't matter in that moment. They just need help now. And to them, it has to happen right now. The house is fired up and it's burning down, and right, the whole world's collapsing in that moment. So you need to be able to communicate and ensure them and kind of work through that process and have some built-in automations to this. Because if you're doing very well with the Omnipresence and you're everywhere, you're going to get reached out to. But if you get reached out to and it's radio silent on the other end, it's crickets, they never get back, they never actually hear from you, the brand, they're not waiting around. They're moving on. And they're going to probably move on to the competition. So kind of like the icing on the cake on this back end here is be able to communicate across the board. And I know we're getting kind of close on time. There was a third prong that I was going to throw, but I'm going to save that for the webinar tonight. And I'll save it for another episode because it kind of just ties in all of the Omnipresence elements. And that's just the optimization of all of this. I'll give you guys real quick. There's 3 key KPIs, kind of key metrics that you want to pay attention to. And that is your spend. How much money are you spending on all of this? The big number to pay attention to, though, is your cost per lead, right? I could be spending $10,000, $20,000 a month in marketing to be organic, paid, tapping into my database, building this Omnipresent side. But if I have no idea what it costs me to generate a lead, like how many leads do I get out of the 10,000? What is it? Is it $100? Is it $80? What is it that gets me a true qualified lead? You want to know that number so that you can figure out the final part. And that's the return. Spend out, cost per lead in, how many deals am I doing? It's going to give me that return. And when we can pile all that up, this is like the fire underneath it that really just accelerates your Omnipresence piece. So anything you want to add on that?
No, I think we kind of basically nailed it on there without getting even deeper, right? Because there's so much more that we can kind of keep going. I think we're in the webinar tonight. That's going to be part of it as well. But one of the things that I wanted to kind of go back to and kind of finalize is, it was kind of funny as you were talking about it, is your competition. Basically, if you're talking about this example, this potential client of ours that you were talking to today, that, you know, it's a real thing. I mean, most people out there, it's a side hustle till they get to a certain point and they can afford to do it full time or whatnot, right? And this is a real thing. Many of our clients are that way. But what happens, what kind of caught my attention is we're talking about Omnipresence. I talk a lot about your organic presence, your organic rankings, and just having a good authority presence online and why it's so important. But when we talk competition, they're going to probably do a search on Google, just random keyword search, you know, whatever that means. They're going to find the top like ranking people. If they look at Google's whatever they rank for, there's going to be 10 results there, right? And they're going to probably call the first one. If you're number 1 and you didn't answer the phone, guess where they're going to go to number 2. And they're going to keep going till they find the person that can help them. So just to give you guys a little bit of, for you guys that are actually doing well and ranking in the top 3 positions, because that's where most of the people eventually find their person that's going to help them. There are opportunities in position 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If everybody is dropping the ball. And there are markets that we see this where our clients are actually doing very well. They're on page 1, but they're like on the bottom of page 1 on position 6, 7, and they're still getting leads. Why? Because the competition is not basically answering the phone. So obviously we want to be as high as possible in the rankings. That's always the goal. But no, if you have a good, strong presence and you're sitting there, you're still getting that attention, right? And that's what the client is doing. They're just going down the line of people that they're finding and who else to go to, right? If you don't know anybody that can help you, who else would you ask? Google. That's the next person. That's the most trusted platform out there to get your questions answered. And that's why it's so important to get that omnipresence going and make sure that you have a strong presence on Google.
Absolutely. So with that being said, if you guys are on right now, you happen to catch this later, it's at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's just a couple hours away for this webinar. If not, then even if you register late, I'm going to send notices to those people on the next 2 live ones that are going to be coming up in December. Heck, you can watch the replay, join the next live one, and be able to get even more of your questions answered, that kind of stuff. The whole focus is between now and the beginning of the year, I really want to help as many real estate individuals as possible plan their 2022, plan their budgets, know what they need to do from a marketing standpoint. I built a really cool tool out to help you kind of calculate if I want to make this amount this year and this is my conversion rate. Here's how many leads I actually have to drive. Here's my cost per lead. Here's how much money I need to be ready to invest in my marketing, and then taking that and putting it into a plan. How do you break down that plan, that dollar amount across the course of the year? Where is it going to get fed into from an SEO, from a PPC, from other forms of marketing, all that kind of stuff. So if you're on the webinar, you'll get access to that tool. We're going to work through it. But other than that, we got a phenomenal episode next week. I'm freaking stoked for next week's episode. So Roger, why don't you kind of introduce briefly what we're going to be talking about next week and why people should be tuned in?
Oh, absolutely. Next week is going to be, oh man, it's going to be the proof, right? Proof is in the pudding, what they call it, right? So this is one of our clients. He's been with us. I mean, he's approaching the year mark. He's been staying very, very consistent. He's one of our upper level clients. We call them dominator level clients. We're doing a lot of advanced SEO techniques with him, and he's in a decently competitive market, right? But not only that, this particular person is actually doing what we're talking about here. Omnipresent,
literally what we just talked about today.
Yeah, Omnipresent Plus. So I don't want to go too much in detail because I want him kind of explain all the other things. So there are some things he's doing that we are not helping him with, but what we are helping with work together with those additional pieces. And I think that's really important, why I'm excited for him to come on and show some of the things that he's doing, and also some of the wins. Some of the wins are phenomenal. So definitely tune in next week. I think you'll take a lot away. If you are a real estate professional, this is very specific, real estate investor, and he's going to be talking about what he's doing and how you guys can utilize those techniques as well.
Absolutely. So with that being said, it's been fun hanging out today, but I'm going to shift my focus and start getting ready for the webinar tonight. So anything you want to leave everybody with really fast?
No, I think today's episode is pretty good. Definitely kind of check it out. Really take that omnipresence. I think that, like we said at the beginning, a lot of people think they're doing a pretty good job with their online presence. But if you go back through this recording and you look at those pieces, you'll find in most cases that you're probably doing one or two. But if you really take the time and focus and kind of get the whole omnipresence, we guarantee you're going to see the difference automatically.
120%. With that, we'll see you guys back here next week. First guest episode. That's what I'm excited about. Got some guests starting to come on. Now that we're pretty consistent, I got Roger consistently doing podcasts. Never thought that would happen, but I think this is episode like 41 or 42.
We got it, man. We got momentum.
We do. So we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday. We'll be back to the normal schedule next week on Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving. So it'll be a cool kind of episode, fire you up, go into the Thanksgiving break, and then come out just swinging strong. But we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday. And as I say every week, here's to your success. See you guys later.